When I'm teaching young doctors how to give a case presentation, I say choose a real patient, a recent patient, one that you care for personally. Now I'm going to break that rule. This is a real patient, a very memorable patient that I cared for about 16 years ago. The most memorable patient I've ever had. Michael Wright said, people need love, meaning, forgiveness, and transcendence. Forgiveness is the one I want to focus on. Let me start with a background concept of the human mind. There's the conscious part and the unconscious part. The unconscious includes a little black box, a measuring black box, which says on it, danger. Do not open. Contains painful memories of old wounds. If you can empty that black box, all that deep energy that's devoted to suppressing the feeling is released in new energy. The conscious mind can become more active. The person who's got chronic fears and guilt wearing them down, lacks energy, lacks dynamism, their body is directed, their mind is directed to hiding the unconscious pain. In fact, if you can transform and heal that deep guilt and shame, whatever it is, it's like a treasure chest. Instead of a black box, it becomes a treasure chest. It releases new insights and growth and healing. So you have to redeem the black box. So here's Margaret. The medical background is that she's 73, widowed, no children. She has pancreatic cancer, which is spread to the liver. She was admitted to the Murdoch Community Hospice on the 1st of August 2005. She had nausea, breathlessness, constipation, dizziness. But the overwhelming feature was miserable, depressed, restless, critical. At the time I was the consultant. I came twice a week, Tuesday mornings, Friday afternoons. I just had a wonderful week's holiday at our farm. I came into work Tuesday morning refreshed, energetic. The first patient was in room 11. Hello, Margaret, I'm Doug. Oh, hello. How's your morning? Rotten. Oh, what's the trouble? Well, for a start, this bed's too hard, this chair's uncomfortable, it hasn't got armrests, the toast was cold. Do you know that kind of patient? Do you have that sort of patient? And all that lovely energy, refreshed energy gets sinking down and down. Oh no. I walked out of that room thinking, it's taken me 20 minutes to get rid of all my energy I've built up the last week. And the nurse said, she's awful. So I thought, back to the genogram. So there's my genogram. Her parents died. She was married. Her husband died. She had no children. She had a brother, brother-in-law, and 2 nephews. That doesn't give me any clue as to the reason for her distress and misery. After 8 days, she was no better. She was totally miserable. She wanted to die. The nurses felt tired of caring for her. So they turned to me and said, Doug, you have to do something. I said, what do you mean? Well, you're the consultant. You have to fix her. I thought, I like being a consultant, I'm powerful, but I can't do that. I don't want to see this lady. But I thought, I guess I have to. So without much good grace, I went into the room and I thought, what can I do to get through to this woman? She was suffering from almost terminal restlessness. And that's, if you had more time, I'd get you to read it. You can read that on page 19 of your workbook. It talks about the syndrome of agitation, distress, and restlessness, which is not quite a Margaret's term, but more towards the end of life. The patient is just so distressed and anxious. And Dr. Twycross says they've got a psychological skeleton in the cupboard, a deep, dark secret. This is distressing them. They've kept it hidden all their life. In the last few hours and days of life, it starts to bubble out. This is I had this in my mind that this might be happening to Margaret. And then she made this disclosure. I did something terrible. I made my brother commit suicide in 1992. Wow, that hit me. No wonder she's miserable. How do I deal with this disclosure? So I just waited and let her talk it over, explain what happened, what he did, what his life was, why she was responsible. I thought to myself, that's a tragedy that he suicided, he shot himself. But I didn't think it was her fault. In my mind, I redrew the diagram. The brother was shot. That means there's a widow, a grieving widow, and 2 grieving nephews. Before I had the time to fully explore all this, she said something different. I did something even more terrible. I've never told anyone. I did something even more terrible than making my brother shoot himself, and I've never told anyone. I want you to imagine that you're sitting there listening to the story. What would you be feeling? How would you respond? In a world with plenty of time and space, we break up in groups and talk about this for 20 minutes. But we'll skip over that. I'll just ask you from the floor. Any suggestions as to what you might have done and how you might respond?
I think I would start by responding and thanking her for sharing that with me and feeling that she could trust me.
So you might say, this is a real privilege that you've been willing to trust me with this. Is she going to tell you the secret? Or is she going to say, and I'm not going to tell you either?
I think she wants to. That's the impression I get. That so some way to explore it, that she wants to unburden herself with she's chosen you.
That's right. It's absolutely certain. The next thing, she's wanting you to hear her confession, whatever it is. And if you say, look, I'm rather busy now, I'll come back tomorrow. This is a terrible, terrible secret, shame and guilt that she's stored for years. And you have to be the receiver. Maybe not do anything else, just listen. So I was sitting quietly listening, thinking, how do I respond to this? I am a murderer. I killed my baby. I had an abortion in 1964. I can never be forgiven. Those were not her precise words. I didn't have a tape recorder. But that's my memory of the way the discussion flowed. I'm a doctor, not a whatever it is. I felt out of place, quite ill-equipped to respond to this profound statement. I felt this needs a priest. This is a matter of a confessional. I didn't want to hear that confession. It's too much. I want to get out of here. Give me a nausea or a pain problem any day. A bit of light relief. There's another loony cartoon which says incorrect password. She's trying to get through to God and ask for forgiveness. And she says, I feel alienated from God. I was racking my brains, how do I respond? I feel trapped, I can't just walk out. She's made this very courageous disclosure. She wants me to do something, but I feel unable to respond. What would you do? Help me with this one. What do we do?
Would you ask her where she would find rest? Like in talking, like in the sense of when she wanted to check, or if she would want, you would give her the idea of how can she find rest?
Rest. Yeah. She's restless. She needs to find rest. Where can she find rest? Can she find rest by her own private meditation? Does she need me to help her find rest? If so, what am I supposed to do? I'm not trained in psychotherapy or counselling or spiritual care. I'm just a dabbler. Have we got any priests here? So pastoral care, this is your church, I think, pastoral care is.
Doug, I've heard that story at least twice before of women of that age. Essentially, her child would have been my age, and I've got friends who, for very strict religious reasons, fathers high up in the church, daughter got pregnant out of wedlock, and these forced abortions in the backyard and so forth. Unfortunately, I've got two close friends with that story. And I would start by telling her that whilst it's very, very unfortunate, she's found it difficult to forgive herself, that I'd reassure her that if she has a faith and if she believes in God, that God can and probably has forgiven her.
Thank you for that. That's quite a remarkable timing, what you're saying. That was the feeling that came to me. I thought, this needs a priest to pronounce forgiveness and healing.
Yeah.
How do I broach the subject? I kind of have a chat with them and say, emergency, triple O, come right now. I found some deep resource in me said, it's your job to, you can be the agent of this healing.
Yeah.
So I said to her, Margaret, what's your faith background, religion? Do you have any connection with the church? Or, she said, I'm sort of Anglican. I said, Anglicans have a system of forgiveness. She said, have you thought of exploring that? She was just so overwhelmed with shame and guilt that she couldn't. I guess she didn't stop thinking she could have been forgiven. And what happened there was rather unusual. I felt inspired to tell her the story of a woman caught in adultery. I was going to get someone to read that. We've got time to read that? Yeah, I've got a Bible. Have you got a Bible? You've all got Bibles on your iPhones, I don't know. It's John chapter 8, verses 3 to 11. It's a powerful account of Jesus' interaction with the woman who was caught in the act of adultery.
I've got it here.
Please read it if you've got a good voice.
Then the scribes and Pharisees brought to him a woman caught in adultery, and when they had set her in the midst, they said to him, Teacher, this woman was caught in adultery in the very act. Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. But what do you say? This they said, testing him, that they might have something of which to accuse him. But Jesus stooped down and wrote on the ground with his finger, as though he did not hear. So when they continued asking him, he raised himself up and said to them, He who is without sin among you, let him throw a stone at her first. And again he stooped down and wrote on the ground. That's up to the end of verse 8.
Oh, sure, verse 11, please.
Oh, sorry. Then those who heard it, being convicted by their conscience, went out one by one, beginning with the oldest, even to the last. And Jesus was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst. When Jesus had raised himself up, he saw no one but the woman. He said to her, Woman, where are thy accusers? Has no one condemned you? She said, No one, Lord. And Jesus said to her, Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more.
So I didn't have a Bible, I just told that off the cuff to Margaret. And I said, do you think, Margaret, Jesus could forgive you for your abortion? And after a long time of thought, she said, I think I could be forgiven. Yes, I'd like to be forgiven. I want to pray for forgiveness. I said, do you want me to join with the prayer, pray for you? She said, I will pray. I thought, well, this is awesome. I don't have to do anything. So I said, that's wonderful. So I just shut my eyes and waited while she prayed. Well, she didn't pray. I waited. Maybe I made a mistake. Did she say she was going to pray silently? Was I supposed to pray? What do I do now? I'm getting hungry. So I opened my eyes and she was just lying there with eyes shut, peaceful. Was she asleep, in a trance or what? What do I do? So eventually I just said, Thank you, God, for forgiving Margaret. Nothing happened. I just walked out and went, oh, let me go and tell, no, I can't. I can't break confidence. I want to debrief, I want to talk about this and say, do I do the right thing? Have I caused big problems? So I wrote in the notes, long, cathartic conversation. That's all. I went home and pondered this and thought that was an amazing experience. I wonder if it's all true. Did it mean anything? I wonder if she's going to be all right. I've heard psychologists say you can't dig around in the unconscious mind, you destroy people. So the next time I came, a few days later, the nurse grabbed me and said, "What did you do to Margaret on Friday?" Psychotic breakdown. I said, "What happened?" She said, "She's transformed." It's my emotion. The nurse wasn't crying. She's different, she's peaceful and friendly. What did you do to her? I said, "I didn't do anything." I listened while she sorted out some stuff in her own life. I came back to see her. It's my next visit. I love seeing her. I chatted some more. Next time I came, her sister-in-law and her 2 nephews were there. We talked a bit about the suicide. And then I dawned on me, I thought, this is an amazing story. She's just transformed. I said, "Margaret, what's happened to you is astonishing. Next month I have to go to Taiwan and speak at a conference about healing and forgiveness. Do you think I can tell your story?" She said, "Yes, of course." I said, "Maybe you kept this a secret for 40 years. She actually told me she imagined that the baby was Susan. I said, "How do you know it's a girl?" "I just know it's a girl. I've monitored the life and progress of Susan for 40 years. I've looked after her going through school. This amazing fantasy daughter. She never told her husband. She never told anybody for 42 years. And she chose me. Well, she said, "I'm forgiven. You can show my photo and you can tell my story and take my photo." So I took a photo of her. I've now added Susan and the dotted square, which is the one-night affair partner. There's Margaret, a few days after her transformation. She was such a miserable patient, antisocial, didn't mix, didn't go to the happy hour on Friday afternoons. And there was this astonishing transformation, which is why she stuck in my memory for 16 years. I said to her, "Margaret, I also teach medical students in Perth. How would you feel about me telling your story to them?" I thought she'd say, "Oh no, that's not fair." She said, "Darling, I'm forgiven, I'm healed. You can tell my story anywhere." I took another photo. 3 days later, she was so happy. And that afternoon, she went to happy hour. Victory complete. I just loved seeing her. I came the next Tuesday to see her and I couldn't find her. "Where's Margaret?" "Margaret who?" "Margaret, room 11. "Oh, she died last night." No, Margaret. She couldn't die. I saw her last Friday having red wine. She died last night. I had to have counselling with a chaplain to sort out what happened. And I realised she was my possession. I wanted her story. I wanted to parade her around the world. But God, in His mercy, that allowed her to go to a better place.
Yeah.
She actually said to me the week before, "I'm not looking forward to the future. I've had a CT scan, my cancer's expanding. I haven't got long to live. I'll have to go to a nursing home. I can't take care of myself at home. No, it's going to be pretty awful." I said, "What did she die of? How did she die?" "She just died, just peacefully died." I wanted a diagnosis. She had a spontaneous ventricular fibrillation. Doesn't matter. I was on the wrong wavelength. So I hope you can understand why she's moved me so powerfully. And I don't recommend you dabble as an honorary priest. Wouldn't do that normally. But there are times when strange things happen, mysteries happen. The time of death and birth are there, where mortality meets immortality.
Yeah.
The transient crashes into the eternal. And that's what a great mystery to be an observer in that journey. Oh, I feel drained down again. Well, thank you, Margaret, for letting us share your story and your photo. Wherever you are, I hope you're at peace, I'm sure you are. I hope you meet Susan. Ever said that before? I always regard Susan as a bit of a fantasy, a crazy idea. But I now think there is a real Susan. The mystery of consciousness, time and space. It's awesome. Thank you for tolerating Dodville. I was going to show this. Much better. Just stopping.